A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. On the behalf of SRN International School, I take the privilege to welcome you all for this enriching session to discuss the topic Grooming Students for 21st Century Careers. I would like to welcome two prominent and well-known educationalists, Dr. Sanjay Goyal and Dr. Pankaj Sharma. Dr. Sanjay Goyal, Director of Institute of Engineering and Technology. He is an alumnus of BITS Pilani and IIT Delhi. He has professional experience for more than 35 years in different organizations in various roles, programmer at National Informatics Center, faculty of Computer Engineering at Delhi University, project manager and director of multimedia at Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts and HOD of Computer Science at JP Institute of Information Technology. He has also been a visiting faculty at Delhi College of Engineering, Delhi, and IMT Ghaziabad. Hundreds of his students have founded and are successfully running their own companies, both in India and abroad. Some of his students are also working as faculty members at some leading students and other universities in international level. And I would like to welcome Dr. Pankaj Sharma, who is Director, Admissions and Placements at JK Lakshmipat University, Jaipur, backed by a rich experience of over 23 years across diverse industries like media, education. He has helped various institutions like SRM University, NIIT University, and BMN Muljan University with thoughtful leadership during his professional journey. So I would like to hand over this meeting to our speakers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Joshi. I request all the participants to make this session very interactive. We have a very senior person, Dr. Sanjay, on this. Please switch on your video so that we'll have the most interactive session. We'll try to have that. So I will request all the participants to switch on their video, please. I know this request you always do with your students and they don't switch on the video, because I also have kids. So I don't think that we have to make this request so many times. So this is, please switch on your video. I request Professor Sanjay to initiate, please, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all. Very pleased to be amongst school teachers. I hope everybody is doing well and your families are keeping safe and well during these trying times. Pankaj, can I request you to please allow me to share my screen?
Yes, sir, you can.
It is. Okay. Thank you. So we are discussing a very relevant topic, which is very close to my heart, and I'm sure it is also very close to everybody's heart present here. That's our profession, that's our life as teachers, and we are always thinking about how to groom students that we have and how to groom them for this century that they will be making their career in and living their life in. So before moving on to this topic, there are certain questions that we should notice. So my talk today will actually be around these 4 questions, because the theme is grooming students for 21st century careers. So we should understand what are the key characteristics of 21st century in which our students will be living their life and will be making their careers. and will be excelling. And we will also be practicing our own profession as teachers. Okay. So what are the major trends? And so there are trends of various types. We will not focus on all the trends. We will look at some of the very, very important aspects of these trends. That is, what is the demographical trend? What kind of things are likely to happen in terms of human population, its distribution, its age groups, rural, urban. What are the various projections by various agencies? Because that's very, very important. Because after all, the careers come into existence because of the needs of the population. Human population needs certain things, and because of those needs, at that point of time, in that geography, in that region, certain careers become prominent and certain careers do not become so prominent because the population does not need it so much. So it is very important to understand what is the population's characteristic as it will be evolving in the next few decades of this key economical trends that we see, because careers also get made because of the economic conditions. So in that population, what are the major economic trends? Very, very important and major economic trends. And then what are some key, very, very important, omnipresent, transforming technological trends that are taking place? So if we understand this, then it will become very easy to understand what will be the impact of these trends on the future of the work, which will be the cause why careers will be there. Okay, so the second question that I'll be spending some of my time is what is the impact of these trends on the future of the work? What is going to be the nature of the work for which people will be paid in future? Okay, and they will be hired for by their companies and other organizations. What will be the nature of that work? Then, in order to carry out that work, what competencies will be valued? Because all the work we cannot imagine, but what are the competencies that are increasingly getting valued by the corporate world, by the government, by various companies, organizations? What kind of competencies would be more valued? And that is what you want to prepare your students for. And the last question, which is the core question for all of us, is what kind of education opportunities, education experiences will help us, you as well as us in the university and the college, to develop those competencies? So these are the core 4 questions. This is the line of thought that I will be discussing with you, and please feel free to intervene at any point. Make your comments, ask questions, make any observations, or add information. All of you are experienced teachers, and I would expect that from your own experiences, you also add some content to this discussion. Okay. It got stuck. Let me try it again. Yes. So the first thing, what is a reasonable projection about how the human population is going to grow? So the lower graph, this blue graph, is showing the growth of the human population from the current levels of 8+ billions to 10+ billions in this century. So the number of the people on this earth is only increasing in this century. And then there are projections that maybe after that it will stabilize. Okay, so in this century in which we as well as our students will be practicing our profession and living our life, the human population will continue to grow in spite of pandemic-like situation. Okay, and this growth is mainly coming. This second graph within this graph shows that this growth is actually coming only from Asia and Africa. Other continents, it is almost stable. Okay, so Asia and Africa are contributing major chunk of the population in this century. Very, very important for us to notice. That is, we as, and obviously within Asia, we are a major contributor to this population growth. Okay. Another important trend about the age group, So the central graph, let us first look at, or let me first look at this graph, left graph. This is showing the increase in the life expectancy at the time of birth. In the last century, we saw, because of the tremendous growth in food availability as well as in health services, there has been a continuous growth world over in the life expectancy. At the time of independence, the life expectancy in India, the life expectancy at the time of birth in India was something like 32, 33 years. Now it is something close to 70 years. And this is likely to continue to further improve because of the availability of food. More people would have more access to food, better quality food and health services, both. Okay. So this is one major contribution to the growth of the population. And one thing which is changing and which has already changed in the developed world is very important to note. In the developed world, what has already happened is that there are more people in the age group of 60 plus than the kids in the age group of, or the youngsters in the age group of 12 to 24. Never before in the history was this the case. Always in history, the number of the youngsters in the age group of 12 to 24 was always more than the people in the age group of 60. And because of this change in life expectancy, what has happened is, in the developed world, already age group of 60 plus, then in the age group of 12 to 24. This is this black graph, dotted black graph is showing the declining proportion of the, or the declining numbers in the age group of 12 to 24. And this green graph is showing the increasing number in the age group of 60 plus in the developed countries, not at our place, but in the developed countries. So already in 2020, you notice there are more people, 2020, you all notice that there are more people in 60 plus age group than in 12 to 24. Okay. This is the first time in the human history. Okay. And the developing countries are also not far behind. What has already happened in the developed world is likely to happen in the developing countries or lesser developed countries in the decade of the 2040. Okay, so within next 20 years or 25 years, you will see a similar thing happening when the number of the people in the age group of 60 plus will be more than the people in the age group of 12 to 24. Now, this means very, very important thing. So this increase in population that we saw in the previous slide means that there will be, because the population is increasing by 2 billion. Okay, so lot of demand for the food, lot of demand for housing, lot of demand for transportation, lot of demand for energy, all the basic amenities that we need. There'll be an increasing pressure on all those amenities. The resources are shrinking in number, but because of innovative technologies, more people will be able to access those beautiful things in life. Here is another very important graph, this age break. In 2040, 2050, let's say, the percentage population from 0 to 14 years will be 20%, whereas the 60 plus will be 22%. Okay, so this is becoming almost equal. This is becoming more than, in 2050 worldwide, this age population, age group of 60 plus is becoming more than the population of the kids from 0 to 14 years. So that means the amenities, the health services, etc., the transportation services, and the various technologies that you need for the help of the aged population would be in great demand. Okay, so it is very, very important to know this distribution. Other distribution, also another very, very important distribution of a similar nature. In 2008, another historical transformation took place in our history. first time in the history, the urban population worldwide became more than the rural population in 2008. Now, this is worldwide situation. Doesn't mean that every country has this situation already. So our country is still, the rural population is more than the urban population. But worldwide, it has already, the urban population has already exceeded the rural population, and every country will soon fall in line in that trend. And this gap is going to increase drastically. In 2050, when these kids will be at the almost at the peak of their career with with around 20 years of work experience, they would be living a world which would have 80% populations living in cities. Okay, now you know that people living in city have a different kind of need than the people living in the rural area. The people living in cities consume a different kind of services, a different kind of products, okay, and they consume more in general than the people living in the rural area. So the businesses will grow tremendously. So while the population is increasing only in this century, whole century, by around 20%, but within this population, within the existing population, there are two major shifts taking place. A, the aged population's fraction is tremendously increasing. B, the urban population fraction is tremendously increasing. Okay, so there will be a lot of demand of various products and services that are available in the market, and that would soon be available. A lot of new products will be available, a lot of new services would be available. The families are becoming nuclear, and with the aged people, more aged people, a lot of services that would be required for taking care of that kind of population. Okay. Another interesting thing, more people in general will have more money in their pocket. Okay, the GDP per capita is on an increasing trend throughout this century. Okay, so what are the major things? A, the population is increasing by 20%, but 80% of the total population will shift to urban areas very soon in next 2-3 decades. Okay, around 20% of the total population would be in the age group of 60 years and plus. Okay, and more people would have more money. That means there will be more markets will expand. Thus, more people will be able to buy more things in future. This lower graph shows the decreasing extreme poverty in the last 2-3 decades. You know, in 1985, for example, 40% of the people were living their life on lesser than $1.9 per day. Now that percentage has decreased to around 10% worldwide. And this will continue to decrease because of the pressures of the UN, UNESCO, Sustainable Development Goals, the government's doing many things. While the gap between the rich and the poor seem to be increasing, but the people living in extreme poverty of $1.9 per day is also decreasing. Okay, we saw in our own country, millions of people came out of extreme poverty and have better food and some better facilities. Now, with these are the 4 major trends that I see that various agencies have projected in terms of what is going to happen to the human population, and the careers of our students would be made in this setting. So if we understand this, we'll be able to advise our students better that, hey, this is what is going to be the society's nature in the time to come. And in this society, you will have to make your career, you will have to maybe set up your business or practice your profession. Okay. So if you do things that are in demand by this kind of social profile, the chances that you will have a good career are very, very high. Okay. So some technological aspects, 2 major technological aspects I will touch, and then the rest are actually derivatives of these 2 major technological trends. Okay, since we have only 1 hour or so for discussion, so I will limit myself only to 2 very, very major. For the last 300 years, we are noticing that the world is benefiting from electricity. Okay, because of electricity, many things have happened, and many things which were not having electricity earlier have got electricity. So this has been the major trend of the last 300 years or so. Put electricity in whatever exists and imagine new products energized by the electricity. Okay, whether it was human power or animal power or whatever kind of power that was energizing a system, put electricity there to take care of it, and it can run at 24/7. It can run anywhere. It can, okay, it could be stored electricity, it could be supplied electricity, various forms of electricity are there. Okay, so this trend is, so we see that in the next 30 years, the total electricity consumption in the world is doubling. That is a projection. Now, this electricity consumption doubling means what? Electrical gadgets will increase in number, because the electricity consumption per gadget is actually becoming more efficient. Gadgets are becoming more energy efficient, and they are consuming lesser electricity than earlier. But the number of the gadgets will increase. The cars are becoming electrical. So many things that are not electrical as of now are becoming electrical. Plus, the number of the people who will be using those electrified gadgets, and a large number of them is increasing, that we saw from the population, and that is increasing because their buying capacity is increasing. So there will be lot more electrical gadgets, lot more. Double is the number of the electricity consumption and production per year in the next 30 years or so. And very interesting trend within this pattern, the colors that you see here. Right now, more electricity is based on coal and gas and oil. Very small fraction of electricity is being generated through clean methods of solar and wind, etc. Okay, right now the 80% plus electricity is being generated by coal, gas, oil, etc. This trend is changing in the next 20 to 30 years drastically. So the major electricity production is going to be based on solar, wind, and geothermal kind of clean methods of electricity production. Okay, so we will have double the electricity, and within that double electricity, major chunk would be from the clean energy source. Now that means, what does that mean? That means we will have need of those engineers who would be producing and maintaining this kind of electrical systems, who will be running the electricity production plants, who will be producing those electrical gadgets, variety of electrical gadgets, and so that population change, and this, you see a huge pattern of careers emerging for those engineers who make electrical gadgets and who handle battery, who make batteries, who make charging stations. So who are doing something related to electricity. You see huge potential of great careers emerging out for that kind of profession. Okay, another very interesting, that is the second most interesting technological trend that I want to share. This is, I'm sure you have heard of IoT. These are small devices that are put into everything now. And so not only electricity, the last 300 years gave us electricity. This technology enabled us to put electricity almost into everything and create a new world for us. Okay, the night did not remain night. Not before Edison electrified New York for the first time in that region. World had not seen light at night, that kind of light. So with electricity, we converted night into almost day, and then the work became going all around the clock, and world changed after electricity, drastically changed. So similar thing is happening now with smart devices, IoT devices, where whatever exists, you put a smart chip there, okay, which will connect it with the internet, which will make it smart. There will be some computing, some communication, and this will become a part of a larger smart network, and things will take some automatic decisions. And there'll be certain information exchanges between devices and people, and between people and people. Okay, those kind of changes are, so this trend of devices, this IoT installation based, this is just a short span of 8 years. I don't even have a projection of what will it be the case in 2050. I'm just talking of less than a decade. Within this decade, okay, you see the number of such devices is becoming 4 times. That is the projection. By 27, by the time your students possibly would not have even graduated out of the college, this number of these devices world over. So everything that exists, there will be our clothes will have a chip, our shoes will have a chip, our spectacle can have a chip, and there are already such models existing. Our furniture would have some smart computing devices. Anything that exists would be gradually becoming smart. So what does that mean? That means the people who could put electricity, who could play around with electricity, would have great careers, and people who would play with these devices to make things computerized, automated, and because of this AI, big data, etc., is all because of this technology, that IoT is expanding in a big way, and everything is becoming a computer device essentially. There is a mechanical shape of everything, but inside everything it is a computer. Your car is already having so many computers. It has one engine, but it already has so many computers. Okay, so car is no more just a mechanical device. It's a solid computing device. It's a solid electronic machine. Okay, that's why a company like Tesla is being projected as a big player in the time to come, than as compared to the traditional car manufacturers like GM, etc. Okay, so new companies are emerging as the big leaders of the new world, which is full of electricity, even at places where it doesn't exist, and in small places, and it is also full of smart devices. That is the big trend in the technology. Because of this big trend in technology, so that was our first question. What are the 3 big trends in demography, economy, and technology? Now, with these big trends, how does it impact the work in the future? The work which will bring salaries at home, okay, for the families. What will happen to the businesses? What will happen to the professions? So again, I will talk of the major trends there, major shifts that are taking place. This is one major graphic that is taken from the report of the World Economic Forum 2018. That is a very, very famous forum. The prime ministers and the heads of the states usually address this forum, and we had a recent meeting that became slightly controversial point also. So World Economic Forum. Okay, so you see this graph, the lower graph. I will show the lower graph is more at a higher level, macro level. In 2018, this graph is showing that 71% of the work is being done by the humans, and 29% of the work is being done by the machines. Overall, this is a macro, big picture. World over, 29% of the work is being done by machines, and 71% of the work is being done by humans across various sectors. Okay, this is changing within this decade by 2025. Okay, that lesser than 50% of the work is going to be done by humans, and more than 50% of the work is going to be done by machines. Machines which are electricity driven, machines which are smart, having chips inside them, doing some computing and communication. Okay, so this is a major change, major change. Automation is coming in a big way. It has already come, and it is going to come even in a very, very big way. Lot of things that are, whatever can be automated, believe me, will be automated. Whether somebody likes it or not, whether some country believes in that philosophy or not, the trend in the technology and the business is that whatever can be automated will be automated. And it is very simple to understand what can be automated. Things that are of routine in nature, they can certainly be automated. That require deeper thinking, that require human ability of creativity, that require human empathy, that require good communication, that require critical thinking, that require innovation. Those kind of things are not easy to automate. But things that are, routine in nature, they can all be automated, whether they are cognitive in nature or they are physical in nature. All routine tasks will be automated. And that is this big thing that is happening, that 60% of all occupations, that's a big picture view of the future of the work. 60% of all occupations will see that at least 30% of their activities can be automated. Whether it is a doctor's profession or lawyer's profession or engineer's profession or farmer's profession, 60% of all professions will see that 30% of their tasks that they do can be automated. With the current technologies, you don't even need new technologies for doing that. And in the years to come, you will have new technologies. So this percentage of the activities will increase and this percentage of the occupations will also increase. Share brokers can be automated today already. You need not have you can have an algorithm deciding for you what share to buy and what share to sell. That people are also experimenting and using. So in India also, the employment will grow. And that is good news for the educators, actually. That is really good news for educators. Because as educator, what do we want? We want that students should develop their thinking ability. That is our core belief as educator, always. They should know more and they should learn to apply their knowledge in a meaningful manner. They should be good thinkers, creative people, critical thinkers, innovators. Okay, this is what we expect education to do. And we feel happy when our students are able to demonstrate such skills. That brings joy to us as teachers. Okay, so there will be growth of high and middle income level, cognitive and creative jobs. So if you're those students who are good at thinking, okay, they have a very bright future. They have a very, very bright future. And those who are avoiding such high-level thinking, deep thinking, creative tasks would have a challenging life. Okay, there is a decline that is projected in the routine, repetitive jobs. So the cognitive and creative jobs will increase in number. So the future of the future careers belong to those who do more creative, critical jobs, who do more jobs related to human empathy, those who do more jobs that require them to communicate with other humans at a deeper level. Okay, so creativity, criticality, good communication, these are the key skills that would be much more valued than even today. Okay, so what kind of dispositions or competencies do we need for such work? Now, can I have a short break and give an opportunity to you? Now, what do you think for doing this kind of works that are being projected? I would request some of you to please put on your mics and speak out. And please share your views. What kind of competencies would be needed for such work? Please. Can I have some responses? What kind of abilities would be more required for taking such cognitive tasks? Like teaching is a cognitive task.
Yes.
It requires thinking. Teaching is a deep level cognitive task. You have to understand it's a knowledge work. And you have to become very creative, because how to make a student understand a particular topic is a very, very creative activity. You come out with some interesting process of explaining. You come out with some interesting diagram. You come out with some interesting example. That's a creative task. And then you have to communicate it in a manner the student can understand. So it requires critical thinking, it requires creative thinking, it requires innovation, and it requires empathy with the student. Student is struggling and you have to empathize with the student. Okay, so jobs that require cognitive abilities would be in high demand. Okay, right now our GER, the gross enrollment ratio, is at the higher education level is only around 25%, and the projections are, and the new education policy has projected that it should become 50% within next 15 years or so. Well, how does that become 50%? Obviously by having much more number of teachers in colleges and universities. And in order to have 50% GER at the university and the college level, you need 100% GER at the school level. Then only can the university and college have 50% GER. At school level, our GER is not 100%. It is around 50% at the moment, or slightly more than that. Okay, so obviously we need much more number of teachers and good teachers to do that. So for these kind of work that are cognitive and creative in nature, what kind of competencies? So let me not continue to challenge. These are some projections made by World Economic Forum, okay, as to what are the top skills that would be valued in the time to come. This is the future of jobs report of World Economic Forum. And it has projected that analytical thinking, complex problem solving, active learning, ability to learn on your own is going to become a very, very important skill in the time to come, because the shelf, the half-life of any skill is projected to be something like 2.5 years. Half-life means if the half-life of something is like 2.5 years, that means within 5 years that is going to become obsolete. So the skills one acquires because of the changing nature of the technology, skills one acquires become obsolete within 5 years. They are no more needed. Okay, so that means one will have to become a lifelong learner. You can't continue to go to schools and colleges all your life. You have the main skill that you and I have to give as teachers to our students is ability to learn on your own. That is the most important skill that we should give to our students. Okay, and make them analytical thinkers, make them creative problem solvers. Okay, remembering a lot of knowledge is meaningless in today's time. You know, whether you are teaching a subject in history or geography or science, remembering a lot of facts, lot of definitions, lot of details is meaningless and absolutely useless. What is important is, can you analyze that? Can you imagine what will happen if this is the case? Can you propose a new scenario? Can you put up a creative solution to a problem? Okay, can you show some imagination with that knowledge? Okay, so that is the kind of projection that is being made by the World Economic Forum about the kind of the skills that would be in great demand for variety of professions, whether it is medicine, engineering, law. I'm not talking of that particularly. Across a variety of professions for science, commerce, arts, and various other streams, doesn't matter. These will be common requirement for all professionals, because professionals are cognitive and creative in nature. Okay. Here is another important slide, almost on the same theme, by a leading consulting company. I'm sure you know about it, McKinsey Global Institute. Okay, that's the research institute of the McKinsey company, which is the major consulting company world over, international company. And this is what they have projected as the skill requirement for India after COVID. This is a very recent report, 2021. Okay, very, very recent report. These across disciplines, across professions, these 10 skills are shown as the key skills. Whether somebody is doing history or doing mathematics, ability to analyze data is important to both. Okay. So computer skills again become important for everybody, irrespective of the subject one is pursuing. Okay. Advanced IT skills and some programming I would advocate is becoming important for almost everybody now. All students should have some familiarity with programming, whether they are students of science or not. Okay. They should learn to do research. That's very, very important. And the teacher should feel happy about it. That is the education is becoming more important now. That is the professionals who can engage in scientific research. I mean, scientific research does not mean research in the physical sciences only. Scientific research can be done in social sciences. Scientific research can be done in history. So scientific research can be done in any discipline. So all disciplines exist because of the scientific research done by the researchers in those disciplines. Okay. So the ability to collect data, formulate questions, analyze data, come to conclusions, these are the common trends of scientific research across all the disciplines. This is becoming more and more important. Companies, gone are the days when the PhDs would be hired only by education institute. Companies are hiring PhDs in a big way, and not only PhDs in computer science or engineering. PhDs in humanities are also being, very much valued by business companies. Facebook has so many PhDs in sociology and psychology. Okay, all these consulting companies welcome people with PhDs in a variety of disciplines, economics, sociology, etc., etc. Okay, so ability to engage in research is being valued a lot now, and that will be bringing a lot of career opportunities. So that is the kind of trait that we should develop among our students. Can you do a little research in your own neighborhood? The assignment that we give, can we ask them to formulate a research question, small research question, and just study the behavior of their own cat and dog and do a documentation in a scientific manner, or maybe just observe their own plant or just their own family members so there can be a lot of research kind of engagements given to the students so that they start enjoying research and engage in research in serious research in the later years. Okay. My final question: what kind of education experiences will help developing these dispositions that we saw coming from World Economic Forum or the McKinsey Global Institute? What kind of education experiences? So here I will show some research. Various papers have shown what percentage of the material, and I'm sure all of you are well exposed to similar kind of thinking. Okay, you all have done B.Ed, I'm sure, and have studied literature on education technology and education philosophy, etc. Okay, so some research showed that only 5% of the material heard in a lecture is remembered after some days, whereas 95% of the material that we teach to somebody is remembered by us. Okay, so if we want deeper learning, then we have to engage in activity-based learning, where the students are engaged to do something, not just read and listen to our lecture. They have to do something, and by doing meaningful things, where they have to they are required to do analysis, some synthesis. You are all familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. I'll not get into that, but if you engage students at the higher level of the Bloom's taxonomy of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, that will result in deeper learning of things, which is what the world is expecting us to do now. Because the professions are changing, the careers are changing, and that is changing because the population is changing and the economics is changing. Okay, here are some examples, and I would request you to please respond. These are some top universities. I'm sure there is no disagreement to this. Stanford, University of California, Berkeley, and MIT. There are no doubts that these are some of the best universities of the world. And because I'm a computer science professor, I picked up some computer science subjects as being taught at these universities a couple of years ago. So how do they evaluate their student? What weightage do they give to different evaluation components? That is what is written here. How much is the weightage given to a component for